Yes, it is. Hello, everyone, to today's community call and ask me anything session. Today is October 14th, and we have several good news to start with. I want to ask Philip because he had that meeting with the Aragon folks and he onboarded them and tell us about BrightID and BrightID being the identity solution of choice for Aragon community.
Yeah, so Aragon, which BrightID has been deeply associated with for its entire existence, is working on decentralizing itself. As part of that process, they decided a long time ago that they would use a decentralized identity solution as part of their voting system and governance for themselves. They recently held an open vote-in competition for what identity solution they would use. Among some other excellent options, BrightID got the overwhelming support of the voters and was selected. With that, I met with what ended up being, I think, 14 members of the Aragon crew. We got them all connected up and verified on BrightID, and a group of them also formed a seed group, and just yesterday we posted that up for vote, and while we were waiting for this call to start, got the vote that we needed to pass that. So they are now the newest seed group. Interesting, they're also one of the biggest seed groups because they've got 14 people in that seed group. So that's pretty interesting. It'll be good to watch in the Explorer graph how that seed group spreads its quota. But excited to work with them.
Planning to like have regular community calls for their community?
I don't think they're planning on doing sort of mass onboarding at this point. But we definitely wanted them to be in a position to help any of their community members that do need to get on BrightID to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't expect them to start like running connection parties.
I see.
They're welcome to, but that's not the expectation that we sort of set out for them. This is sort of for more of their internal use, I think. And we've done that for a number of groups previously as well.
I see. Yeah. And when we say that BrightID is going to be the uniqueness or identity solution in Aragon, what do we actually mean by that? Because Aragon is a provider of DAOs. Is that going to be like you open a DAO and you have to verify your BrightID account or like link it to that Aragon DAO?
So in this first instance, and this kind of needs to be set up, this is that each of these sort of voting members that they're going to have, and I think there's 9 of them at first, each have to prove that they're a real individual person. So we'll be meeting that specific need, but also sort of tied in with this, but separate, is the fact that the first proposal to the Bright DAO was for a group of OneHive developers to build better integration tools between BrightID validation and OneHive governance platform, which is built on top of Aragon. So the tools that they build for OneHive should be pretty adaptable for other Aragon DAOs in general. And a DAO could choose that certain actions can only be performed by addresses that are BrightID validated. So it's going to take a while before this leaks out to be readily available to all DAOs, to all Aragon DAOs and all OneHive DAOs. But seemingly we should get there. And DAOs will be able to choose what they want to gate based on BrightID validation.
I see. And since Adam is here, I'm not sure if he's able to talk to us, but I want to ask in his mind how long he thinks is going to take, because I see that integration with a number of dApps didn't take long. It was like less than a month, a couple of weeks. But I don't know how different this integration is going to be and how long that'll take, so people can see that, oh, now there is BrightID link to my profile in an Aragon DApp.
That's
think.
not the integration that they're doing. That's not the integration they're doing. That's also not the integration that the team from the I guess you could say they're from OneHive. That team that's doing the integration, that's also not what they're doing. They're making it so that you can limit actions based on whether or not you're BrightID verified. And then the Aragon Network DAO, in a week, they need a way to prove that their initial members of the Aragon Network DAO are BrightID verified. So we'll come up with a way to do that.
I see. And yeah, I remember the NFTP or the rainbow rolls being our latest the use of BrightID, which they had a category for BrightID verified users under Discord, and in their sort of the competition or the I don't know what to call it, where
Raffles.
you filled out a form at the raffle. Yeah, BrightID had a part in that as well. Are we working on any other integrations at the moment, or do we have any latest integrations that we haven't talked about and the community might not know about?
Sorry, what was the question?
I was asking about any recent integrations that is in progress or something that is in the cooking and we might
Yeah,
not
there's
be
a
able
bunch,
to.
but I don't think we can talk about those.
Oh,
I see.
I mean, maybe we can, but it's probably better just to wait until they actually launch.
Yeah, I think that's probably, the projects are, anyone is welcome to integrate with BrightID. And they can do it at whatever pace that they want. It's all fully open source. So please, build any integration that anybody wants. But things that Adam may know as a developer personally, he shouldn't necessarily let out. But yeah, so like NFTP is an interesting example. They were not, and they initially had no plan for BrightID in that launch, but we know some of those community members pretty well and started talking about BrightID, and they realized that their Discord would be better protected with BrightID, so they used the Discord bot to help ensure that the people actually in their Discord talking were real people. Tons of Discord servers are absolutely loaded with Sybil accounts. And they didn't want that. And they also wanted to have their raffles go to real people. So all of their raffles are gated by BrightID as well. There was no kind of gating for the actual minting of the NFT, but I am super excited. In the future, someone's going to do that. We're going to see BrightID gated NFT drops, and I cannot wait because I think it's just going to be such a great mechanic. Two that I'm particularly interested to see. One is just simple 1 mint per person. That's the most obvious, and you can have, if you have 10,000 pieces, you actually have 10,000 owners instead of who knows how many. Maybe it's 10,000 addresses, but that is not people by any stretch of the imagination. There's 20 people on this call. How many addresses do the 20 people on this call control? It's a whole lot more than 20. I don't know if it's 50 or 1,000, but it ain't 20. And another thing is, I look forward to seeing experiments like ramped pricing based on the person. So some NFTs, it's like, oh, the first 100 are at this price and the next 100 are at this price, and it goes up, and a lot of people complain about that for good reason. Well, imagine it's, hey, you can buy one for $1, and the next one costs you $2, and the next one costs you $3. Like everyone can get one for $1, and as you want more, each incremental one costs more to the minter. I think that would be a really interesting mechanic to see. Looks like Flourish has a question or comment.
He's raising his hand. I'm not sure if he wants to. Flourish, if you have a question, you feel free to unmute yourself. I don't know why your raising your hand otherwise.
And also, everyone feel free to write questions in the comments too.
Sure.
Yeah, so I look forward to that future NFT stuff. I think we're going to see it, and I think it'll be really powerful.
Do we have an SDK, like a package that the new applications can just use that and then integrate with BrightID without getting in touch with us, or does it always have to be through a communication with our developers?
We have an SDK, but they still have to talk to us if they want BrightID to show up on the apps page. If they just want to do something like, if they don't care about showing up in the apps tab or the apps page, then they don't have to contact us. They can just use the SDK. But even though there are SDKs, we just we help people every step of the way with their integration.
And anyone can use the BrightID Discord bot without contacting us. Many Discord servers have, that we don't even know what they are, have used it.
I have a question to ask concerning the BrightID. In here in Nigeria, the functionality is not fully known. I don't know if you can hear me.
You have a lot of disconnections in your voice. I'm not sure if you got it. Anyone who understood the
I can
question?
hear him. He's quiet,
Okay,
but I can hear him.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, I want to know, like, the real functionality of the BrightID has not been fully known to us here in Nigeria. I would really love more light on the usage of the BrightID, how we can use it and how we can maximize the usage. It will be very good.
What I guess is he's trying to say is that usually they in Nigeria just verifying by BrightID because someone say to do it, because you should do it, but they don't know exactly how to use or what is intent to use. Usually in the meetings when we are verifying people, we talk about what is BrightID, that is an anti-civil tool, what you could do with that, but we don't say exactly what applications has or are using BrightID, what these applications do, because it's a part of BrightID, right? So we don't waste time talking about each application, yeah, and everyone. So maybe that's the question he's talking about. Flourish?
Yes, yeah, that is what I was trying to say. I've got what you said. No problem, thanks.
What?
Anyway,
Anyway.
yeah. Right, I would say that BrightID is trying to solve one really small, simple problem that's very hard to solve, but very important if you do. If you can prove that you exist once in any given system, lots of things are unlocked. You know, we are, while some of us have been working on BrightID for years, we are still at the very beginning of this. We are at tiny scale. The dream for BrightID in the long run is that literally every human being on Earth, 8 billion people, have BrightID, because the things that are unlocked, if that were true, if everyone could prove that they're unique, it is huge. We've got some early test systems that use BrightID for Sybil resistance. We're not going to go into all of them, but some of the most popular ones, one is Gitcoin. They've got this amazing quadratic grant program, but it only works if they know each person is only acting once. CLR fund, exactly the same. It's an amazing grant matching program that can give outsized grants to projects that are really supported by lots of people instead of just a few rich people, but it needs Sybil resistance. Rabbit Hole is really interested in helping new people learn how to use different crypto platforms. And these crypto platforms are very happy to pay users to come learn and try those platforms. And for each person, they're happy to pay out a reward. They just don't want to pay that reward 10 times to one person that pretends to be 10 people. That's not beneficial to them. That's extractive. While if you just go really use it as one person and learn, that's totally accretive of value. So they use BrightID to allow that. And all of these different platforms, and there's many more, share this same problem of they need to know which users are unique. And they can use a common solution like BrightID, where all their actions and everyone's actions are helping everybody else. And we have one solution instead of everyone trying to solve the hard problem themselves.
I was on mute. In that vote that took place in Aragon, and BrightID was the popular one, or the most popular one, what other options were were our competition there?
Proof of Humanity and IDENA were definitely there. There were also some interesting platforms that had a great write-up that I had never even heard of before. Which makes me wonder a little bit. Some of us are very focused on this space and follow along all the other great projects that are working on this problem. And I'm always happy to learn of new ones, but also a little surprised when I learn of one that promises great things and I've never heard of it before. Maybe one can slip by sort of my network of folks, but it was surprising.
Cool. I'm checking the chat to see if we are seeing. Oh, there was one question from Sandeep in the early messages where he was verified. He said that he has linked or verified for 20 apps, but he's not seeing that in the app section of BrightID app. It's only showing 8 of those apps. I know that it's not a big deal because he's already linked to those apps with his BrightID, and that's what matters. The app side matters more, but I'm not sure why it happens. That it sometimes happens that the BrightID app doesn't show you that you have linked it to some of those applications. So you don't have to worry about it, as far as I know.
I would just say 2 things. Number one, right? It's if you recover your account, you lose those links in the user interface, but you really are still linked behind the scenes. The other thing, it may just be that on the front of the screen it says how many apps you were verified for, but it doesn't mean you've actually gone and used them. It means you could link to them. You've achieved sufficient levels of verification. Yeah, that could be the case. Yeah, right. So I'm verified for 23 apps, but I'm only linked to 9 of them, and that is appropriate because I haven't gone and linked everything. And I'll point out that there's that 23. That's a back end number. There aren't even 23 that you could link to right now, because that 23 is counting things that are not active, but they sort of exist in the background of the system.
23. Was it 3 years ago or 2 years ago where we had like 2 applications? It was Burn Signal, and what was the early ones? It was Burn Signal, I remember. What was the other one?
Pop-up Gifter.
No, top-up Gifter was from the hackathon.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the early ones that we used BrightID for. But now we have
Honey Faucet?
Yeah, the ED Faucet.
ED Faucet, Honey Faucet. Yeah, Honey Faucet was the huge one. Yeah. Okay. There was a question about reporting. That time I reported one contact. Now I can't set that contact to recovery connection. Is that an error? I think it all makes sense that someone that you have reported as a like a duplicate or any other option wouldn't be an option for a recovery connection, but I'm not sure if that's actually what you're asking. Do you want to elaborate on that, Sandeep?
Maybe he's trying to say that he reportedly accidentally, so it was
Okay.
because he, if not, it's not that, is oh, he's that's Sandeep.
Yes, Sandeep.
I want to say if I reported someone, later I want to set that contact as recovery connection. I can't do that.
Sandeep, usually your recovery connection is someone you can trust because you are giving
No.
them a lot of power. So why you want to report them?
Listen. If that happens by mistake.
Oh yeah, was a mistake. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
so
don't know how.
It happened by
Sandeep,
mistake.
that account that you marked as a
Reported as like
reported,
duplicate.
have they marked you as already known?
No, if some like I reported you.
Yeah,
Then-
right. So in order to choose someone as a recovery connection, they have to mark you as already known. So make sure that account has marked you as already known. I assume
Yeah,
that's probably the restriction.
Now listen, I reported you. Later I set you already known. Now I can't set you as a recovery connection.
My guess is you can, but only if I have marked you as already known, having nothing to do with your action. It's a requirement that I have marked you as already known before you can mark me as a recovery.
Can I share
Like
my
it should
BrightID
be
screen?
already known on
Can I
both
share my
sides.
BrightID screen?
I don't think you can share your screen on.
But even if you could, we still don't have an answer. Are you sure that the other person has marked your account as already known?
No, I am talking if I reported someone.
What I'm saying is, I don't think that you're in the past having reported someone has anything to do with it. Right now, I can't mark you as a recovery connection for me because you have not marked me as already known. It's got there's got to be enough trust on both sides that the receiving party has marked you as already known.
Okay, got it.
If it still fails after that, let us know.
Is it when you report someone currently in the app, because I haven't recently done that, are they gonna still show in the connections list but it shows as someone that you reported? But in the past, I remember that when I reported someone, it was automatically removed from my list. So if I make a mistake, I can't like undo it. Is that still true?
I think you can search by.
Because I don't want to report anyone to check.
I think
because
that you
my
can make
reports
another
are-
connection with that person. You can make another connection and you're going to see.
You don't have to.
You can go.
Yeah, by default, the search option is excluding reported connections. And if you go into the search menu, you can enable that, and then you will be able to see those connections.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there
Right
is
there.
it's a filter. That's all.
Right, and it's turned off by default because we sort of assumed that you wouldn't want to see those people, but you turn it back on just by pressing the button.
Yeah. So Sandeep, you need to know that giving the social recovery to someone, it has someone that is really trustable to you. I mean, your family members or friends. So it has to be someone that you already know. That's why you need to select the connection with that person. Both of you have to be in the green option. Already know. I mean, so when the other person said that they know you, you can select that person and your social recovery. I hope that.
I have tons of suspicious connections. I just realized
Yeah.
how many they are. Cool. Okay. Checking if there are any other questions. Otherwise, I would say let's take this call brief because I'm not seeing any questions here. And okay, Sandeep says, my question is that by mistake, if someone reported by me, later I changed. So I want to say that, repeat what Philip said, but try to be as clear as possible. So it doesn't have to do with you having reported that person in the past at all. What matters is that that person have selected you as an already known connection. We want this to happen only between family and friends that would select each other as already known connections. So if that person has selected you as already known as a friend or family, then you would be able to select them as recovery connection. Otherwise, if they have selected you as just met, you wouldn't be able to do that. But this doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to do with your reporting them at all. I hope that helps. Okay.
I'll bring up one other annoying but interesting and ultimately good thing in BrightID is that right now we have our first BrightDAO dispute resolution happening. So there was what I think is a good proposal that I voted for to create the BrightID to add TipBot to the BrightID Discord server and get some initial funding for that. And it was disputed. It appears from all evidence that the dispute was done just to kind of play with the tools, not because they actually dispute the action. So I don't expect that to be a successful thing. The proposal certainly appears to be within the expectations of the covenant, but that has gone through. The keepers in the Celeste system said it shouldn't be an approved action. And there's now just over a day left that someone could appeal by paying more honey to continue this appeal. My guess is that will not happen. While this has been a little frustrating in that it slowed down the process of getting this passed, from a historical nature, it's pretty interesting. It's certainly the first BrightDAO appeal process, but it's also the first time that Celeste has been used by anything other than itself. So only one hive has used Celeste in the past. And this is the first time that an outside group, us being BrightDAO, used that service. So from their perspective, this is really cool. This is valid. This is validation of the work that they've been doing in the tool that they built.
Can you tell us about the process of a dispute? So there's a proposal, people are voting for it, it passes. Then I go open that proposal and place a dispute, and then who's going to be the judge of that?
Yeah. So
the community.
Disputes are judged by a platform called Celeste, which is sort of part of One Hive, and it uses honey as the payment system for that. But basically, there's anyone that has honey and is BrightID verified can sign up to be a potential juror. They stake honey to be in the pool of jurors that could be selected. In the first round, just 3 jurors are selected. They have some time to view evidence by both parties, and they can choose to either vote to allow the proposal to go through, to block it, or to say we don't have enough information. And it's kind of a funny system. It's worth reading up if you're interested, but what the jurors are trying to do is guess what everybody else is going to do. So your goal as a juror is to select the answer that you think the majority of other people will select. If you do that, you get paid. If you don't do that, you pay. You lose some of your staked honey. If that round concludes and anybody thinks that answer was wrong, they can deposit more honey to expand the pool of jurors and vote again. And so ultimately, someday, if it kept appealing, it could get to be every single juror. And the idea with this, what seems like an unusual structure at the beginning, is to guess what the eventual outcome will be, even if you asked absolutely everyone. And the idea is that because you are betting on what would happen if you did ask everyone, that you don't have to ask everyone, because a small group should be able to perform that task correctly. And if at any point it is doubted whether the small group performed as the big group would choose to, you can pay to continue your case.
Someone asked a interesting question. They said, can that dispute be resolved with Bright and not with Honey? And makes sense, because the community is Bright holders.
The Celeste system that we use denominates in Honey. So there is a Bright component. In order to start a dispute, you need to put up 500 Bright as payment for that, which you would get back if it's right, and you would lose if you lose your appeal. But the jurors need to be paid in Honey. That's how that system is set up. I will also point out that there's an extremely liquid market between Bright and Honey tokens. So anyone that has Bright can easily get Honey. That's an extremely liquid pair on HoneySwap.
I can also add to that. I contribute on the Gardens team.
Awesome.
And, so the reason that the Celeste is not per community, that there's not a Bright, that you guys aren't protected with using the Bright token, is because of the network effects. Honey is used in Celeste, and Celeste is used across every garden. And the more Honey that's in there, the more secure the system is. So BrightID is kind of like piggybacking onto a bigger system that's secured by a lot of communities. So it's an advantage to have it linked to Honey. But yeah, that was thanks for the Celeste rundown, Phil.
Yeah, sorry, sounds like I did all right. Sweet. Actually, I literally
think you did great.
I read through the Git book today because, or whatever the guide, because the appeal process is a little confusing. And the part I was most confused about and remain confused is the reveal process. I don't understand why that's like a separate step that takes a day. Can you explain that at all?
I do not. I'm not familiar with that part of it.
Yeah, it's this weird thing that like, right, you cast your vote and it's secret, and then it takes a separate action. And I'm sure there's a good reason behind the scenes somewhere, but there's a separate action and a separate time period for those votes to be revealed.
Yeah, I bet Luke would know. My guess is he's the one that architected that. I would also like to know the reason behind that.
And also, if I don't imagine this being a common thing that people are spending Bright to like test the system like this, but there is the option, if somehow this did become a problem, that you can raise the price of going to Celeste, or if you feel like it's too high and people aren't raising issues to Celeste because they're afraid they're going to lose money, then you can also lower the price. So that's tunable.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so it's about $250 worth of Bright right now.
Yeah, kind of an expensive test that guy knew he wasn't gonna.
Yeah, and he may not have understood, that he was going to lose that money, or maybe he doesn't care. It's people in the ecosystem that's chump change for. So
yeah, when we were deciding like how high to set that value for the Bright that you need to lock and potentially lose, we thought no one's gonna just to mess with things or whatever. No one's gonna lock that much money just to mess with things. That had never happened before in in one Hive. And so we thought, okay, yeah, we don't even have to worry about that. But it's funny that it did happen. But I don't think this was like malicious, like, hey, let's block all the proposals and make everything take longer in BrightDAO. I think it was this guy trying to educate himself. So, we think of it as, it looks to us like an expensive education, but we don't know his financial situation. So.
And from the long-term perspective, it's good that we will have gone through this process and know how it all looks, because I certainly hadn't paid close attention to a Celeste case before. I sort of have been vaguely aware of their existence, but in this sort of every day I'm checking in and seeing, oh, there's this many steps, and these are the time periods that transpire. It's all taking longer than I thought, because when it first came on, it's like, okay, it looks like this is going to take 2 days. And then you kind of come back 2 days later, it's like, oh, wait, no, there's another 2 days. And then here's another day. It adds up. I mean, I think that what I'm learning now is that even if it goes as smooth as it can go, I think it's like a 10-day process, even if nothing weird happens along the way. So.
Where is going the tokens that this person pay for the challenge when once it's ended? Is going directly to the DAO, or is going to another person, the challenger?
I think it goes to whoever proposed it. I think it goes to Joran. Is that right? Sorry, Curly.
Curly, yeah. So, oh, okay. I didn't know that. So,
Paul, do you think that's correct? Who gets the token that was?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, either I would think it would either go to the supporter or the initial proposer, or back to the common pool. But I'm not sure.
Because I mean, we're a community and we can do anything. So if this person maybe just make a mistake, there is a way to get back her right. I mean, he can make a proposal to get back his right. We can vote to get them back.
I would distinctly vote no to I mean, that would be wildly unacceptable in my mind, because the action actually has been detrimental to BrightID.
Okay.
In the short term, and our covenant says you're supposed to do things that are positive for BrightID. And
that's cool. It's a really good discussion to have.
I mean, he challenged a seemingly fully valid proposal. I see no merit to the challenge, and I don't take any issue with what he did, but I would take issue with if he asked for a refund for his action, because his action has caused detriment to the DAO.
I mean, I am a lawyer. I like to debate. So if you want to be against him, I can be his defensor, and we can make a post. I mean, it's fun, and it will be an educational process to have the community divide between those two opinions. So, but we need to wait to know if this person wants to do it, because I cannot defend it if they don't want. I would love to do it.
I also definitely hope that when we get the One Hive integration with BrightID cover, I think things like challenging proposals should require BrightID verification.
I think the DAO should require BrightID verification to even be in the DAO. I think so.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I would like to get there.
All right, that took longer than I expected, but that's all I had, Tesla.
Cool. For some reason, I think I'm the only one, because Carlos is telling me that the DAO is working for him. The gardens is not loading for me. Any suggestions how I would like? I don't know. I keep refreshing, or just doesn't work. I don't know. But yeah, I'll try to find a solution. Another note that I want to bring up is that so Colony on XDAI, you can introduce any ERC20 token to it, so you can have it as your native token. And we tried to create one for our BrightID stars. We want to have a colony, and then we give it the address of the Bright. It recognizes that, okay, this is Bright token on XDAI, but doesn't let us continue. I brought it up with colony guys, and they said that they have a limit for the characters of the token. So we have 6 characters. They can only allow like 4 characters. And I wonder if this is something that like maybe other platforms have too. And maybe we should consider like limiting or like number of characters when you want, because like honey is like H and Y, they limit it.
It's too late, Passlar.
It's too late for that.
The
We
token,
can't change
the token
it anymore,
exists. You
right?
can't change it.
Cool.
I've also never, I've never heard of that particular problem before. But
So maybe it's just with colony, yeah.
Yeah, but we definitely can't change it. There's some things that we can't change, and that's one of them.
I see. Cool. Okay. I want to thank everyone for being here, and especially, was it Peter or Paul? Yeah, Paul, thank you for being here. You helped us, understanding the gardens a bit better. And thank you, Philip, for explaining all this stuff for us. If there is no questions, I'm gonna stop recording now. And I'm gonna do that. Thank you everyone for being here.